Yeah, so we have a group of other couples that we're close to that we intentionally will try to connect with on Zoom Hangouts once every week or two, just to connect and say hello. We have both been involved in Echo groups that we've been leading and hosting, and that's been a really life-giving experience. And, even though that is challenging, I know we've talked about how at the end of the day, if you're involved with a job that requires you to be on Zoom for multiple hours throughout the day, honestly, when you get to the end of the day, the last thing you feel like doing is jumping on another Zoom call for your Echo group. But we were just talking about how important it is to overcome that hump and be intentional about
Right.
that commitment, because maybe that's the most life-giving hour of your week, where you're intentionally in conversation with some people who are talking about your relationship with God, how you're doing emotionally and spiritually, providing that sense of encouragement to you. And so even though there are these barriers that prevent us from wanting to connect, that maybe it's easier to isolate, that we have to make that intentional choice to say, no, I value community, I value connection, and I'm going to be intentional to create it.
For us as a church, this is so important. When we look at the season that we're in interpersonally, the season that we're in as a country, the season that we're in as a church, there's nothing that is more important than what we do as our groups. And I want to encourage you right now that there are a couple of choices that you can make around groups. One of the choices that you can make is to be a host this fall, to host a group. Some groups will be Zoom, some will be at a park, socially distanced. And those different options, you can do groups for students, you can do groups for coworkers, you can do groups around deep Bible studies, but there are so many different options. We have great resources. In fact, today, if you click on the check-in button, you can see a place where you can say, I'm interested in hosting or leading a group, and we'll send you resources to get connected. Others of you, today you can make that decision that I'm going to be a part of community. I'm going to engage in groups. In fact, you'll see an opportunity even with the check-in button to express that interest. We want to help you get connected into community. And what you see when you connect into community is that group ends up being an opportunity every single week for you to be around other people digitally, for you to be around other people in conversation, to connect so that you can encourage one another. It puts into your calendar, it habitualizes something that is so incredibly important for your growth as a human. And it takes hard work. It's very difficult. It's important for us to recognize relationships are hard work. Healthy relationships require the willingness to work hard to make that relationship flourish. And sometimes even when you start in community, it doesn't go as you anticipate. And I would love for you to hear Alex and Grace's story of how they've gotten connected in groups, how it was hard at first, but that commitment made a massive difference in their growth spiritually. Let's watch their story together.
I'm Alex.
I'm Grace.
We've been attending Echo for over a year now, and we serve as group leaders. Before Echo, both Grace and I were doing long distance relationship, and she was in Australia and I was in Southern California, but we wanted to be together. So God made a way for both of us to move to the Bay Area.
We really wanted to prioritize finding a community because both of us really valued friendships and people to really deeply connect with. In the Bible, it always tells us that we are meant for community. We are meant to grow together and not alone. So for both of us, that was a huge priority.
We looked around the Bay Area for several churches, but we landed on Echo, mainly because it had great community and there were a lot of options for groups.
It was so great to be able to see that, wow, it's so easy to get plugged in and to find different interest groups and people our age and people in your life season, wherever you are.
We got plugged into a summer group, which was our first group last year. Afterwards, we decided to lead our own groups, and this past summer, we co-led together a hope group. I definitely had hesitancies, like, am I good enough for this? Can I facilitate conversations? Am I even that knowledgeable in theology and the Bible? But really, through my experience, I discovered that you just need to be faithful with the people that you've been given.
I think right now everyone is so separated physically, but it was really surprising for us to see how close we could become with total strangers we had never even met before, just over a video call.
My advice would be for people who are checking out groups, it takes time. Your first group that you join might not be it, maybe not the second, third, even 10th.
For us personally, it did take some time to, check out different things, check out different groups and events and people, and to see, where is our tribe, who is our core community, who are the believers that we can run this race with together and really spur each other on in our faith. So there's just been so many connections made through our groups, but that wouldn't have happened unless we had kept going and believing that God has something really good in store.
So you could see in Grace and Alex's story that their first attempt at community didn't go so well.
Yeah.
But they decided that they valued community, they valued connection, and that they were going to jump right back in and give it another go. And so I just want to encourage you, no matter where you are in your past experience with trying to connect with other people, I know it's been hard, maybe you've gotten burned, but don't give up, because there's something beautiful that God has in store for you, and He wants you to lean into community, to be the initiator, and to be intentional to connect during COVID.
Our goal here as a church is to help you in your journey spiritually, to stay in that place of connection. And that decision today to sign up to lead a group, to sign up to host a group, to be involved in community is one of the most important decisions that you can make. And I believe when we look to the future, this decision is the most long-term decision that you can make and we can make for the health of our lives, for the health of our church. I want to encourage you right now to make that decision. Others of you today, you're hearing this good news about God's love for you, that Jesus came to die on a cross, that He gave His life for you so that you can be forgiven, so that your past can be wiped clean. Today, you can have relationship with God that begins anew, that starts right now in this moment. By faith in what Jesus did on a cross and His resurrection, relationship between you and God can begin right now. If that's you, I want to encourage you today to make that decision by praying in faith to God. Right now, you can just say, "Dear Jesus, I believe that you died on a cross for my sins. I believe that you conquered the grave. Please forgive me for my past. I surrender my life to you in Jesus' name." If you prayed that